Welcome to the Seeker's Hollow. I'm Brian. Welcome back to Dolmenwood. This is part 5 of our ongoing series, The Hunters of the Aldweald. In the last episode, we narrowly escaped from some griffins after getting battered in a battle just before that. And the characters were licking their wounds and they made their way into Prigwort. They had a good rest in Prigwort, and they passed a full day of rest on day 5 Frisk, and so now they're ready to venture out. Actually, I think day 4 was the full day of rest, and day 5 is the morning now. So they're ready to set out, but one thing that I want to do before we leave Prigwort is that while we were staying here, we did have one interesting encounter while we were at the inn, while we were resting, and that was an NPC came and visited us, and that is this NPC that I've created here. This is using the per chance generators, which you can find this in the Discord channel for the Necrotic Gnome and Dolmenwood unofficial fan Discord channel. The same place where you can find many of the other things that I've linked as far as sheets and aids and things like that. So I used this off camera to create this human NPC who happens to be an apothecary, and his name is Wagered Vague. And the reason I created him is because he is going to play an important part in a adventure hook for Ryecroft, which is a site that we are going to be dropping into Dolmenwood here. And some of you may have seen a community post that I shared about Ryecroft. Ryecroft is the author of Ryecroft is Glenn Seal, who you may know from doing layouts and maps and art for many different really excellent RPGs. And so Ryecroft is one that he has authored, and it's a very interesting adventure because it's a very detailed cemetery, and the vibe of everything with Ryecroft fits really, really well into Dolmenwood. So I'm looking forward to going in here and checking some stuff out. And one thing that's really cool that Ryecroft has is some adventure hooks for getting your party into the cemetery. And these adventure hooks are actually designed to be discovered by your party when you're in the vicinity of a town that is close to Ryecroft. And we are going to be placing that town and Ryecroft both on the map. But for now, I've come up with a little way to kind of get this hook to our party here in Prigwort, because Ryecroft is where I'm going to be placing it on the map. It's about 5 or 6 hexes away. But we have an adventure hook in here where an apothecary wants someone to escort them to look for rare plants in the cemetery at Ryecroft. So that is a perfect thing for our party specifically. And so that NPC is going to be Wagered Vague. And the way that he found us is that he talked to the herbalist here in Prigwort, Wormspittle, who we got kind of like a little bit of a quest and information from before. And Wormspittle told him that, you know, he's not really up for going on this kind of adventure himself, but he let him know about our party. And he said, if you go talk to them, then they might be able to help you, because they're a bit younger and more intrepid, and they've got a little bit more ability to go out and do some of these adventures, which our party kind of does, but they're not very strong at this point. So anyway, Wagered Vague, he came to the Clashed Antler, and he visited with us. And he told us about what he's offering and what he's doing. And so he has actually been commissioned by the Puritine Church to investigate Ryecroft, and specifically to investigate the different herbs and plants and things that could be found there that could be used for special kinds of medicine and potions and things like that. And there is also an interest in possible religious relics as well at Ryecroft, because Ryecroft is also the site of a ruined abbey. So that would be kind of a little bonus that we might be able to find. So for Wagered Vague, he's made a really good offer to us that we kind of can't refuse. And he's going to offer us 500 gold to escort him to the Ryecroft Cemetery. And then he'll offer us another 500 gold if we find any herbs there at all, basically. And then if we wish to sell any herbs or plants to him, he will give us a 75% of their value. So that's a good deal on that. And then he wants to spend at least 3 full days at the cemetery. So, and he does also have a desire to collect saintly relics. So again, that would be kind of an extra thing that we could find, and maybe there would be some extra rewards along with that, possibly, if we are able to find some of those. So it's a very lucrative offer for our party, and we tell him that we are not ready for this long trip right now, but we'll probably visit with him maybe in about another 4 or 5 days. And if we can get geared up at that time, then we agree to take him there. And he says, okay, he says that he will meet us back in Prigwort after, 4, 5, 6 days around there. So we do have this kind of quest now, and we will be escorting Wagered Vague, the human apothecary, over to Ryecroft. And when we do come back and meet with him, then I'll talk more details about Ryecroft and where that's all going to be located and what we're going to do for that. All right, so with that out of the way, we can now move out of Prigwort. And we had decided last time that we wanted to move just a little ways to the northwest, and it's kind of right in the middle of the crease here, but just going northwest 1 hex, we can come into this area where we've got kind of a river going here, kind of a lake and a river together. And so we're going to look at doing some fishing in that area, and possibly some foraging and maybe hunting as well. And so we're looking at the map. If we were to go from this marker in Prigwort to this marker over at the Abbey of St. Cloud, I think it says that would be 11 miles on as far as that distance. So if we go about half of that, then we'll just say that we're going to go about 6 miles as usual, and we can travel on the road. So we're going to say that we set out at 8 a.m. and it's going to take us 4 hours to arrive there. And so we're going to enter into hex 1005, and we will get 500 experience for going into there. And our weather and everything is not going to affect us. We don't have any negative effect there. It's just a windy and cloudy day. But we do want to see what we have in this hex. So let's take a look at hex 1005 and see what we can find there. So we do arrive there at noon. It's going to take us 4 hours to get there. And this hex is called Shub's Finger and Sturge Isle. And it says that this is hushed oak woods. Birds and small mammals are markedly scarce. A periodic groaning can be heard. So something a bit strange going on with this groaning here. And we don't have any sort of special herbs or anything that we can find there. But as with most hexes around here, it's a tangled forest. Pretty much the vast majority of the hexes in the Aldweald are a tangled forest. And we have, for lost encounters, we have a 2 in 6 chance. Now, because we're on the road, we do not have any lost chance, but we still do have a 2 in 6 encounter chance. So we can roll for that. And encounters are 2 in 6 likely to be with 1d4 sturge owls. So we do have a kind of a special encounter possibility there. So as we travel into the hex, there are some things that we can possibly notice. Now that says that that's on the western side of the hex. So maybe we actually don't notice that because we're kind of just in the center of the hex right now because we only went 6 miles in. So I think I won't read about that one. And then the Sturge Isle, that does look to be kind of in the middle of the hex there. So the accursed Isle of the Sturge Owls wards the western end of the Groaning Loch at the point where it narrows, feeding into Sinkhole Creek. Okay, so that would kind of make sense that we might see that as we make our way down the road here about midway into the hex. And says that it's 900 yards long, 100 yards wide, steep rocky sides, 50 feet high, slick with weeds and topped with gloomy firs. So looks like a pretty unapproachable island here. And there are sturge owls. The isle is a nesting ground of 60 sturge owls, 2d6 of which swoop down and attack trespassers upon the isle or those who pass by at night. Okay, so maybe we can hear these owls off in the distance, and they may not necessarily sound like the best thing. Now, we have something special in the springtime. In the springtime, the isle is frequented by night boars, and they will have the same stats as boars, but they can only be harmed by magic or magic weapons. And these gelatinous grazers leave their usual habitat in the near astral to mate upon Sturge Isle. And they have a bellowing mating call, and it can be heard for miles around, at times spooking the sturge owls. And then after the night boars have courted, their sticky luminescent seminal fluid can be found dripping from rocks and tree trunks. And characters successfully foraging on Sturge Isle find 2d6 doses of the stuff known as frisk, in addition to normal foraging results. All right, so we do have some special foraging possibilities here if we were going to go on that isle. And I think, generally speaking, we're going to want to stay as close to the road as we can because that's the best way for our party to survive. Right now, while we are, everyone is level 1 and has pretty low hit points. And that's going to be our general strategy, probably until we get to around level 3. But so wandering off the road is not really something that the party is interested in too much at this point, but certainly they want to get into that more. So I think that gives us an idea of what we can find here. Now, if we do some fishing, there are also special encounters for being along the water. So that's something that we can find that will be unique to being in this water, by the water here. And we've got stats for the sturge owls, and there also appears to be a hidden site here as well. But again, we would have to take some time to wander off the road, and we'd also have to do a searching check to find any information about that, which once again, we want to stay near the road as much as we can. And thankfully, the road does go near the river, so that should give us a good chance to do some fishing without anything too crazy happening. So we do have about half of this day left. So we've got at least another 4 hours that we could go and do some fishing and stuff like that. So I think even though we won't get the bonus for the full day of fishing, we can probably go ahead and try a fishing check. We can do a survival check right now and see if we can be successful with some fishing. All right, so before we go fishing, we're going to roll for a general encounter here. And that is a 2, so that does mean that we will have an encounter. So let's look at encounters that we could have along the road. And I think also we have the possibility of having the encounter with the sturge owls as well. So going back to that, that was a 2 and 6 encounter with 1d4 sturge owls. So let's go ahead and roll for that. And that is a 3, so we do not encounter the sturge owls. Okay, so we are on the road during the day, so we've got our possible encounters here for that. We're going to roll 1d8. And we got an 8, and that's going to be a regional encounter. So we'll take a look at the regional encounter table to determine what that's going to be. So we're rolling d20 on the regional encounter table for the Aldweald. And that is a 15, and that is going to be a sprite, and it's 3d6 sprites. So we're rolling 3d6 for how many sprites we're going to have, and we're going to have 11 sprites. So let's take a look at the sprites, what they are. All right, so we've got our sprites here. And it looks like they tend to be mischief makers that like to go around in swarms. And it does say that they are prone to thievery and pranks. And they delight in using fairy magic to play pranks on mortals. But they are cowardly and they try to avoid physical confrontations with bigger folk. And they will usually flee if their pranks lead to violence. And they're sometimes open to bartering, providing secrets and reconnaissance from the local area in exchange for salt, honey, or resin. And there's a lot of different kind of sprites too. So, and we do have a 15% chance that they are in their lair. So I think we'll roll a D100 and see if we get, I guess we'll say if we get 1 to 15, then that would mean they're in the lair. And we got 59, so they're not going to be in the lair. And we also do have some special encounters. One thing that's really cool is a lot of the different monsters have special encounters that are kind of like pre-made that you could have. So maybe we can roll for one of those and see what happens. We could either do that or we could just do a simple reaction roll and see how that goes. I think for this case we will do a reaction roll and see how things go from there. Okay, so before we roll the reaction roll, let's roll for surprise, and the sprites are going to be the red die here. And that's a 4 and a 3, so neither side is surprised. And then we're also going to roll the encounter distance, which we are outdoors and not surprised, so it's going to be 2d6 times 30 feet. So it looks like pretty far away. So I think that would be 330 feet away. So at least we do have some good distance between us and them if we need to make some kind of a retreat here. Now let's roll for the reaction roll. And that's an 8, which is going to be uncertain and wary. So one thing about the sprites is that they speak in a high-pitched buzzing, but they also know Sylvan, and there's a 1 in 4 chance that they know Woldish. So the good thing about having an elf in our party is that Seven knows Sylvan, so she should be able to speak with the sprites if we wanted to do that. So let's see about maybe having her speak with the sprites. And we're going to say that this is it's likely that they will speak with her because she is an elf and she speaks a language that they understand. And even though they are wary, they are not hostile. So we're going to say it's likely. And the way you do the one way that you can do a likely roll with the Tales of Argosa Oracle dice is you could make the blanks to be count as a yes. So if one blank could count as a yes, that would be likely, and if two blanks count as a yes, that would be like very likely. So we're gonna say it's likely, which means that if we roll one blank, that will count as a yes, but the other blank would be a no. So we can have up to one blank counting as a yes. So that's going to be a no right there. So no, they actually do not want to speak with her, and maybe that's something that Seven can kind of sense, that it would probably not be a good idea to speak with them. So drawing on her experience being from Fairy, she decides that it would be better if we avoided them and didn't try to speak with them. So we are going to try to run away here, because we definitely don't want to get involved in any kind of fight with them at this point. And I think one thing we could do here to help elucidate the situation a little bit is we could roll for a creature activity. So that might give us a little bit of insight into how likely they might be to pursue us, or how much they particularly care about pursuing us. So let's try rolling for a creature activity and see if we can get something that would make sense for the sprites. So that's going to be a 9. And it says that the sprites are actually in combat with something. So I guess that would explain why they are not willing to talk with us right now. And I think that would also explain why they are certainly wary, because their guard is already up due to the fact that they're already in combat with something. So we're going to roll another encounter to determine the other creature involved. So let's roll another regional encounter and see who they are in combat with. So we got a 7 there, and that is a fairy horse. So let's take a look at the fairy horse. So a fairy horse is a beautiful silver-dappled mare or stallion of dashing grace and free-spirited intellect. Natives of the forests of fairy, chaotic quests bring them to wander Dolmenwood. So they are obviously from fairy, being fairy horses, and they do not have lairs. They're usually sharp-witted and curious and driven by wanderlust. And they can also speak Woldish and Sylvan. And maybe these fairies are pestering this horse. And I would say that we probably kind of feel bad for this horse, but unfortunately, it's really quite a dangerous situation that we just can't put ourselves in. But maybe there is something that we could do to help this horse that's being pestered. All right, now it does say that there is a 3 in 6 chance that they are encountered with a companion, either a charmed mortal or an elf wanderer. So they do have the ability to charm mortals into their service for 1d6 days. So let's roll 3ds. Let's roll for a 3 in 6 chance to see if they do have a charmed mortal or an elf wanderer with them. And that's a 2, so that would mean that yes, they do. And I think we'll roll 1 to 3. We'll say it's a charmed mortal, and 4 to 6. We'll say it's an elf wanderer. Okay, so they do have a charmed mortal with them. So it's actually a horse and another mortal, which is going to be like either a human or a mossling. So it's really a tough call here, but maybe we can roll the oracle dice and see, is the horse really in a lot of distress, or does it appear that the horse will be able to get away from the sprites, or that maybe it's not meant to be a really drawn out battle. Maybe the sprites are just sort of harassing the horse a little bit, trying to get the horse to go away from some location. So we'll just say, does this look like a dire situation for the horse? Yes or no? And that is going to be yes. So it does look like it's a dire situation for the horse, unfortunately. And man, I would really like to do something to help the horse, but I think that it's the best interest of our party to stay away from this encounter. So it's quite sad that this horse is being attacked, but given that the horse has a companion, well, a charmed mortal anyway, maybe there's a chance that the horse can fight off the sprites, but we are going to have to just run away from this encounter, and we're going to roll for another reaction roll from the sprites as we run away. And maybe the horse has not really noticed us at this point, but the sprites definitely have. So let's roll for another reaction roll as we run away from the sprites to see if they're really going to be trying to attack us and pursue us or not. All right, so we got an 8 there. And once again, that's going to be uncertain wary. So I think we'll just roll with the oracle dice, and we'll say that this is very unlikely that they are going to pursue us and attack us, given that they're already involved with the fairy horse. So that would mean that any blanks are going to indicate no, that they are not going to pursue and attack us. So that would be 2 no's there. The 1 no and then 1 blank. So that will cancel out the judgment die that has a yes. So that means that they might want to pursue us, but they are quite busy, so they are not going to pursue us. So we're going to run away from that. And unfortunately, we have to leave the horse to its fate, sadly. Okay, so after that rather crazy encounter there, we can run a little bit further down the road and look for a peaceful spot where we can do some fishing. So let's go ahead and do some fishing now. I guess I'm going to say that we're kind of along the road. Maybe we went a little bit more to the west to get away from the fairies or the sprites. So we probably went like another hour or so down the road. And so we're going to make our survival roll here to see if we are successful with fishing. And that's definitely going to be Low Blow, who's going to go for that roll, as he has a 5 in survival. So we need to get a 5 or a 6. We don't get any bonus for this because we're not using the full day for fishing. All right, so we got a 2, so it was not a successful fishing attempt. And I think that's pretty much going to wrap up the day. So they may spend a little bit of time going and looking for a safe place to camp and getting the camp all set up. We'll roll the 2d6 for how much firewood we can find. And that's 10 hours of firewood, so that's pretty good. Remember, we're going by the rule where if we roll less than 4 hours of firewood, then it means that we do not have firewood for the night. We can't count that as being that we have a campfire. And we can do a cooking roll, and we can do a camaraderie roll and see how those go. So we'll say that cooking is going to be the white die and camaraderie will be the red die. And we got a 3 and a 6. So we definitely succeeded on our camaraderie roll, which I think is the first time that we've succeeded on that. And that would be a check against Seven's charisma, and she has a +1, so we could have even rolled a 5. And then our cooking is going to be against Samwise. Or actually, no, we could have even rolled... This check goes by the ability score check, which you only need, the target is only a 4 on that, so it's an easier target to hit than your skill targets for a skill check. So it looks like we are going to be successful on both because Samwise has a +2 on wisdom, so that would be that would give us a 5, which the only target we need is a 4. So we're going to get plus 100 experience for the cooking and the camaraderie, and maybe 7 has finally been able to do some kind of performance that the others appreciated, because so far she has failed in impressing them with her with whatever her camaraderie skill is going to be. So I guess this time they were really impressed. She's been practicing hard, and maybe she did a great dance or a song or something like that, and they really enjoyed it this time. And so the party spirits are up after a good meal and the nice performance. And now we're going to go into the nighttime. Now, we don't have anything to worry about with weather as far as affecting our camp, so this is just going to be a successful camp. We have an easy camp level because we have a fire, we have a tent, and we have bedrolls. Or I have 2 tents actually, and because 7 has her own tent. And then so now we're going to check for the nighttime encounter. And okay, so let's check for the nighttime encounter. That's going to be a 2d6 chance, and we've got a 6, so we're not going to have a nighttime encounter, and the party will rest through the night. We need to count off our rations that we were going to use for the nighttime. So each person is going to use 1 ration, and everybody will have 1 left. So we definitely would like to have a successful day tomorrow with any kind of fishing or foraging or anything that we do. So we'll definitely be using the full day tomorrow for that. So we are going to pass into the next day, and it's going to be day 6, which the day of the week is going to be Egg Fast. And I don't know about you, but Egg Fast, that name makes me hungry. And we are in Hex 1005. And now let's roll for the weather that we'll have today. So rolling 2d6 on the spring weather, we've got a 4, and it is going to be windy and cloudy once again. So the same weather holds for today, and there is no ill effect, and we are still in Tangled Forest and still in the Aldweald. So now, after a good night's rest, the party is going to set out and go for some fishing, and this time we are going to get a +2 bonus for doing fishing for the entire day. So we just need to roll, our target number is a 5, so we just need to roll a 3 or better here to successfully fish, and we really need this roll to go off well if we can. And all right, we got a 6, so that is pretty nice. And let's see what's going to happen now as we are fishing. We're going to determine which catch we caught. We're going to roll a 1d20 to see what is caught. So we have all of our different fish here. Hopefully we don't catch this thing, because that looks pretty bad. All right, so we've rolled a 7. A 7 is going to be a gurney. That is a big ball-shaped fish with beady eyes, misshapen face, and wide flapping mouths. They are known among anglers for their habit of suddenly snapping with their concealed rows of vicious spiny teeth. Characters who have not caught gurneys before must save versus doom or suffer 1 point of damage. All right, so everyone's going to have to save versus doom here, just because of how vicious these little buggers are. So let's look at everybody's saves here. We're going to do a save check for Samwise here. He's got a 12. So we need to roll, we need to meet or exceed the 12 with a d20 roll. And that is a 10. So Samwise is going to take 1 point of damage. So he's going to go down to 3. And then we're going to roll for a low blow. He's got a 10 on Doom. And he got a 12, so he will pass his check. No problems there. And then 7 has an 11 on Doom. And she got a 4, so unfortunately she doesn't pass. Now, she did heal 1 over the night, which I forgot to put in, so she's just going to stay at 3. So we did lose a little bit of HP there, unfortunately. But that only happens the first time that you catch Gurney, so we don't need to do that again if we ever catch Gurney. And we are going to get 2d6 fresh rations here. So let's roll for that. All right, and we're going to get 7 rations, so that's pretty good. And then now we're going to do a ration preserve check so that if we pass this, then the rations will all be considered preserved rations. And if we pass the check, all 7 will be considered preserved. And if we fail, then we only get half of the rations as preserved. So in this case, we would round down, and that would just give us 3 rations. So let's do a check for against survival for low blow. So he's going to have to roll a 5 or a 6 here. So this is pretty tough. All right, and he got a 4. So we're just going to get 3 rations. But we are pretty happy to get 3 rations because that's enough for everyone in the party to go back to 2 rations apiece. And as we saw in the last episode, buying the preserved rations is not cheap. And that would actually be a way for us to make some money as well if we were able to ever get a decent stockpile of rations, if we could get some good rolls and things like that. So, all right, everyone at least has enough rations for a little while. And the fishing went well. Now we do need to roll for an encounter, and this encounter will be, it will be considered a water side encounter if we do, or an aquatic encounter if we do have one. And that is a 2, so we are going to have an aquatic encounter. So we'd have to look on the aquatic encounter table. All right, so let's roll on the aquatic encounter table. We're going to roll d20 here. And we've got a 10, and that is going to be giant leech, 1d4 giant leeches. And that sounds pretty bad. We've got one giant leech. So let's take a look at the giant leech, see what these guys are all about. Maybe this giant leech has seen us in the area fishing, and he's decided to make an appearance. So the giant leech is considered to be an animal, and these are ancient leeches that are 3 to 4 feet long that have drained the blood of hundreds of animals, growing ever fatter and more voracious as they age. So these are fairly formidable for leeches. All right, so when we come back next time, we will deal with this encounter. And even though we've only got 1, it's probably going to be something that we're gonna really consider running away from. But all right, so thank you very much for joining me, and we'll pick it up from here next time. Take care.